in a sense, feeling underneath the madness, he's confident in his birthright and he really is a more methodical pace compared to everything he's faced thus far. His combos are widely overloaded dodge time to remember it's also important to recognize his stance and know his combos too. With enough study, I realized he does handle elemental attacks on the other hand with his different skills. Earn as the finisher and off consecutive buffs. While winning is something to scramble, no either struck, blocking the win first or one from tremendous dodge. I tricked the win side safe, but prefer the slam to the dodge punch. The passive aggressive stance was well in the face. Takes a dragon head for a spin, incorporating fire and a savage grab with his offense. Grab half of his battle and dodge unless you're a fan of up close and personal motions. The other fire brother's action can either be outrageous or appropriate. Recognize his time and massively taking advantage of for your own motion. Dominic did an incredible job of having taken advantage of the strength you're content with, while evoking enough strength to force your special limits of your toughness. Getting slightly above the average, Dominic is the line at which the springboard upward. Number 22, Amanda Knott. Originally, I thought very little of this rallying leader. I first encountered a variant of an noble one. With Torrent free to stay well out of his range and pick off the underlings and summon safely to defend himself, he was mimic to your typical. It wasn't until I faced the Grand Castle Soul that I gained massive respect for the commander. He summons two Silver Knights, one with a great shield and the other a dual wielder. Each box will handle the duo with nice, but both are tough enemies with powerful weapon arts and crossbow. Once defeated, rather than summoning more mobs, Guile summons his inner nameless king with a lightning buff that continues with crossbow. Taking more damage for mistakes than something you'll likely change your face. The resident is superior in a variety of combos. He also has a prosthetic claw with lightning, the slam, or dash instead. It does use ton of damage. Taking dodge memorization for sense, going through and getting counter stuff like that. Your choice, but he has a backstrike to stagger. His full counter to an opening that I haven't seen across before. His overall percent does seem generous, culminates from above reputation. That's sheer side of the thanks to what made England so challenging. Strikes in slow wave, very ever so slightly. What makes the level know that he has to remain one attacks, whirlwind is quite well to that skill, offering their opportunity to assess those who can Number 21, Loretta and the House. They have gotten to the of 11 game. Based entirely on the dynasty, central outside of the plan. This is Loretta is a final barometer that affects her mastery at the time. There, she does have a very big character pattern, but I found her a little late in the story before I even realized what happened. Regarding how a tree area low to get games, much more potent here. Everything dangerous about the tree sentinel is I know here. Incredible range, mobility, timing, and combo. Back on all of that, holding soul arrows, great bow magic shot, even greater great bow magic shot for triple the shovel after magic drop herself, which also has more soul arrows and fire than manual. It's a lot to deal with. This is what I encountered right out of the gate. She would have accomplished for hours. It's really experienced and at all. In addition, this means I take great advantage of my control early. Keeping myself centered on that very simple halberd shows just how much my skills have grown across my wood. It's not just for the top, that's what we got to wait for. It's destroyed one for the surprise 360 bullet jump on my first attempt. My second, I dodged it perfectly on round with well whether being rookies, guarding the gates of the capital, and groups outside the castle, or guarding the depth of the Howard Tree sorcery, the prowess of this wonderful design is nothing but a pleasure. Number 20, Red Wolf of Radical. The stronger magical beast. The love child of Sif, Great Wolf, and Logan? It's completely for the robust contributor. It's insane. Jumping in and out of melee range with ease. As it does, it readies a trio of the wedding fire arrows. Taking this multiple times, including capping it off with a color round somewhere. Making sure you delay your dodge off guard more times than I'd like to. Then, dealing with them while the wolf quickly rotates and stomps times across headings. Literally, as something is dashed is put my lock on quickly making sending arrows may get obliterated while my head but otherwise has bites and magical sword slashes with cells and fast delivery, a level of amazing difficulty that I was not prepared for this early in the game. I tried to move up to scout combo range to melee together with 6 below. This is likely a boss I think lower on the second playthrough, but as the first, this is off the otherwise, Number 19, Stigma Boss. I first encountered this as a mini boss in a Intel area. Appropriate since it's likely to windmill their signals to annihilate the tree. The bird regarding the divine's power is the real test. There are many shakeups to this combo. Yes, it's right opposing the good restriction. It can vary from 2 to 5 hits. This requires attacks, striking, and pulling in. Get to see what suddenly in the combo, since it comes from behind, it's the same squad look. This can include this basic jump attack trick, and it's just about as good as it gets. It's extremely aggressive once the man is range, making it unsafe to hit him more than twice without the result. Safe goes, we would cut fireball, which also makes it quite difficult. Where this all becomes severely spooky is when he lights himself ablaze. I assume this would be your standard offensive buff with the names and combos. No. This apostle prays in the search of Mr. Fantastic. What about moves? Whirlwind attacks? How about the gospel whirlwind? In addition to the loop-de-loop, he makes up previous attacks like the weapon swirl by charging units, as well as lower half of gravity. Maybe I can get a fence in. What the heck is something going to his face? I saw that for the first time I actually got off all of this setting with a more instant fire. There's a lot of hell, so don't reinforce your pain. Not only direct damage, but persistent black fire can play a time. One thing brings action to the combo. The second is his body and allowing you to press it and open it. Otherwise, you're going to have to battle for every single opportunity in this fight. It's pretty tough, and it's only getting harder from here. Number 18, Elamur of the Briar. Yet another boss I faced as a mini-boss prior. Elamur of the Briar moonlights as the bell-bearing hunter. A special encounter received for traveling to certain races in Nightfall. You're aware well before some items on fire. When I encountered him early, I was hopefully understanding. He uses his telekinetic card like a pumpkin from the other side of the arena. You see, this does this with variations in the time of each hit, basically difficult to die. Especially with right after he can bash him from miles away with his great swing. I consider this boss very similar to the Metaphor. Offensively, he's a juggernaut and will take control. The way I found he did was to go full wall screaming and get his work at getting our votes and continuing to help from there. This is an extremely risky strategy, relying on tight execution and reliable damage on the back. You might lose a few lives trying to do it, but I would say it's better than letting him slice and dice you up like massive. In order for the ability to melt him under the right circumstances, you find yourself shooting higher. As it stands, this great mark near the halfway point, so you have extended jump gathering to alright. Number 17, Rykar, first class. You may have taken a decade from soft, but you finally did. All the storm came to York in the world led to this very moment. Special fight, special weapon, that delivers on both difficulty and well. It was as simple as making a more natural weapon by having R1 start. So the stick weapon are always effective in considerable range, no matter your build. With much emphasis on positioning, it offense centers, like design centers compete around your respective offensive damage. The weapon set isn't terribly complex. Fighting rights, the gravity, not dangerous, quick, and fast, much to expect. Well, then there's going to be this model 100, which requires you to somewhat aware of your position. Notice that I have extensive HP stamina. That's because this is actually one of the last bosses I fought in my entire playthrough, because for the life of me, after hours of searching, I could not find a way into this legacy dungeon. It's an important thing to note, because sure the HP helps, but the stamina makes a massive difference. Since I can attack at nearly any range, I can spam R1s relentlessly during openings and still have stamina to dodge. I should also mention that you have the option of upgrading the spears returning. With Somber Stones only requiring 1 per upgrade, you can easily spare some of the money you'll find for an easier battle. Though I beat him both unupgraded and with it a +9, and fought him in the endgame, I still regard his difficulty highly for one reason. In Phase 2, his Enrage attack is ridiculous. Emperor Serpentine over here during the transition was apparently gurgling so bad because he had a billion skulls lodged in his throat. I guess we dislodged them because he rains them down for a long time, while still doing all of his attacks that accompany the phase. He You also need to be wary of the encroaching lava, manage your stamina, and the sword attacks, and oh my god, it was overwhelming. Even at my level, I found it daunting. I can't imagine if I had fought this in the mid-game. Elden Ring offers flexibility to face bosses when you want to, so it's fair to evaluate them that way. As a compromise, I feel pushing it close to the top 15 is respectable, especially with those 15 being weekly challenges. But before we send off for today, ahead of featuring them in part 2, we've got one last spectacle fight to rival the serpent in every way. Number 16, Fire Giant. FromSoft has been eternally obsessed with giants. From the Baron Hearthstone and Demon Souls all the way to now, seeing Miyazaki's modern vision for facing a Titan is breathtaking. Something of colossal benefit to the talent. Obviously, the bold father used those slash, slam, and skill to make getting into range quite tough. And once you pull it off, you can strike it as his shield with makeshift protection. I'll be careful for him to roll away, take the lead with him, and break through. Stun provides the damage opportunity at the cost of fire, which uses fire spear to range and summon blows. These work exactly like we're once doing with the exception they took a blow on their own after a short time. And once you set them off with their dodge, using them in constant threat of these go a long way to eventually because the top of his skills, the more I fought him, the more I got good at bothering him. On horseback, through it all, the bastard turned dead. If the usage of fire wasn't indicative of his willingness to push his limits to the beach, one of the most jaw-dropping transitions ever to set aside an account. Ripping his foot off to remove his key point, he used his motivation to open his third eye, you can now see his true face. This is one of the most twisted, disturbing, and amazing designs I've ever seen in this game. And somehow, the one-legged behemoth is more limber, rolling around like Sonic the Hedgehog on plastic fire. The weak point is tremendous. Bar is a lot more opposing. I did notice little Chris had a similar journey to this, but I never went out of my way to this. That's because this base is definitely easy. Speaking man, a crunch goblin will likely avoid his barrel on the side. Robert would be proud, a significant part of his face. Robert Griffin is a big deal. He keeps on his big fire AoEs under himself, one for a time, but Soren will see that can repeat. All this said, what elevates the giant is high and how to control his when you're in a group, you can actually navigate more toward the bottom of the list. However, if you focus on the road for even a moment, you'll start sucking through blasts like you've gone through a wave of pleasure. He encapsulates the feeling of balance and difficulty any of today's bosses provided, but in this case, in Mango, I chose enjoy. There's a lot more to come in this ranking alone. Elden Ring has some of the series' most grandiose battles with them.
Get a prepaid Visa card with the purchase of 4 select Hercules tires. For over 69 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move for drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain, and we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires. Ride on our street.
Come on, Lego, you can't make a video about this. The trade deadline is already over. What are you doing talking about trade rumors? Come on, it's fine. Let's go over some stuff that might happen in the future. Not trade ideas in the now, but speculation that has been brought up by very legitimate NHL insider sources on very legitimate NHL insider shows. So we're going over to the Chicago Blackhawks and we're talking about none other than their captain, Jonathan Toews. I think everybody's kind of familiar at this point with Captain Sirius and the profile he provides. He's 33 years old, 6'2", 201, a left-handed center, making $10.5 million a year until the end of next season. Patrick Kane is also making a significant amount of money until the end of next season. And so, for the Chicago Blackhawks, a team that isn't really all too great, and that has two franchise-altering superstars on the payroll until the end of next season, this is a team that you could very well see exploring the route of a rebuild. Now, the reason we're even bringing this up is because of the recent segment on the Jeff Merrick Show from yesterday, April 1st. I will leave a link in the description to the specific audio piece I'm talking about. It is, at the time of recording this audio, the second most recent show. American Freeman is Keith Yendel's Iron Man streak in jeopardy. Now, I'll answer that question first and foremost right here. Yes, it is. It's actually been confirmed today that Yandel will be a scratch, and thus ending his illustrious Iron Man streak, one of the top streaks of all time. Actually, no, it is the top streak. Actually, yeah, my bad. There is an entire conversation to go on with that, but I'll just say this right here. A lot of Flyers fans are kind of happy that Yandel's Iron Man streak is ending, not because they're not fans of the streak, but because Yandel just isn't that good anymore. Phil Kessel is right behind him with like 30 fewer games, so assuming Kessel stays healthy now, and then next season he's healthy as well, he will most likely take over the #1 Iron Man streak title in NHL history. But aside from that, because that is the title of the audio hit, there is a conversation that Merrick and Freeman have about one Jonathan Toews and a potential team that Merrick sees that could be a fit. It comes at, what is it, the 21-minute, 28-second mark of the show, so you can go ahead, click the link in the description and go to that timestamp if you want to see exactly what it is we're talking about. Because nobody transcribed this and put it on the Twitter or anything, I had to personally transcribe it myself, so here is my notes application on my MacBook, so here you go. Here's what I wonder about Jonathan Toews, Jeff Merrick says. There's one team specifically, and it would involve Chicago holding half the contract. Friedman says, Merrick replies, the Boston Bruins. Second line center, he doesn't have to go in and be a savior. He doesn't have to go in and, he's here to help the kids. He can just go in and play. Take that David Krejci second line center spot behind Patrice Bergeron. This is provided that Bergeron comes back too. And then up the gut we go Bergeron and Toews. And Toews doesn't have to worry about anything else other than just go play hockey. And I think if you're Chicago, it's a sunk cost. You have the contract, you make the deal with the Bruins. Boston's going to take another shot at this thing if Bergeron comes back. They still got, and they just re-up Candace Lindholm, and him and McAvoy look great together. Swayman looks good. That's the one I wonder about, you know? If there's an obvious spot for Toews, I wonder if it could be Boston. Friedman then replies, I mean, I can see it. It's a good theory, like, it's not as dumb as your chasing the shootout theory yesterday. And then they share a few laughs. Friedman then replies saying that there are going to be teams that will call about both these players, Toews and Kane. And I will say this as well, before this entire conversation happened about the Bruins and Jonathan Toews, Friedman went on an entire spiel highlighting a few very direct things about the Blackhawks and their direction. This team is looking to rebuild, not reload, not retool on the fly, not try to remain competitive while they still have Toews and Kane. No, rebuild. Full on, just send it balls to the wall. We're going to go out there and sell all of our stuff because we want to take this team in a completely new direction. Friedman also highlighted that for Patrick Kane specifically, he's hearing more and more that Kane is more on the side of, okay, I really do like it in Chicago and I kind of want to stay here for the rest of my career. Whether or not that changes, we'll see. But for now, that appears to be the sentiment. He also highlights that for Jonathan Toews, he's getting more of a vibe that Toews just wants to win, and whether or not that's here in Chicago or elsewhere around the league, his main priority would still to be competitive and hopefully go out with a bang towards the end of this contract and potentially his career. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's kind of the sentiment he's getting. Now, when it comes to the idea of Toews and the Bruins themselves, firstly, it is kind of traumatic thinking about the idea of a former Stanley Cup rivals captain heading over to your team years down the line. It happened in Vancouver in the 90s with Mark Messier. It happened a few other times here and there, but like, for Boston fans, it's kind of difficult for me to envision that same sort of disdain towards Jonathan Toews, mostly because for Boston, they've been in the finals 3 times in the past decade that it's no longer just, oh, they made him there, they had Taves as the captain of the team they were facing, and Taves went out there and won. It's okay, they won in 2011. They lost 2 years later to the Blackhawks against Jonathan Taves, and then they lost even further down the line after that against an Alex Pietrangelo and Ryan O'Reilly-led St. Louis Blues team. There's a lot of emotional yo-yoing going around here where it's super. And then it's super far down again in 2019. There isn't really that same, okay, super dedicated, one emotion fits all scenario here with Jonathan Taves, which is why I feel like it's a little bit easier to accept the idea of him going there rather than that ill-fated Messier situation in the 90s. Taves obviously would need to be salary retained. He's making $10.5 million this year and next year, so $5.25 million AAV would be the contract, heading over to Boston. And they're they do have the assets to be competitive still. With Bergeron hopefully coming back, you still have yourself McAvoy and Tony Simon into a long-term deal. Slavin is looking good. And if you have yourselves that 1-2 punch of Bergeron and Taves, who knows how good that second line is going to be. The Bruins have been regarded as a one-line team for a while now, and it's been arguably the biggest flaw this team has had in the past little while, that sure, they have top caliber forwards, they've got a decor that isn't bad, they've got goaltending that is more than average, but the rest of their lineup after that first line is just a little bit lackluster. Take a look at this right here. The second line center right now is Eric Haula. After that, you have Charlie Coyle. Tomas Nosek follows up on the fourth line. Having Jonathan Taves in here instead would be an extraordinarily huge upgrade. And imagine this guy playing out there with Taylor Hall and whoever the heck else is there on that second line right wing spot. Taves, of course, would still need to go out there and improve himself because he's got 29 points in 58 games played this season. He's on pace for 35 points in 71 games. As we highlighted in the previous video, talked about Jonathan Taves and his concerns in the future with the Blackhawks. He's going to really need to improve that overall profile in order to make him worth the $10.5 million, let alone $5.25 million, should he get salary retained at 50%. Because, I'm sorry, a 35-point player is not worth $5.25 million. You're going to have to get a little bit better than that, Jonathan. And sure, he's 2 years removed from being a 60-point guy in 70 games and being a point per game in the postseason in the bubble. He was at 81 points in 2019. He had the year off in 2021 because of the health problems he faced. But Jonathan Taves has still had such a tenured NHL career that if there's anybody you're going to have to bet is willing and able to bounce back, especially on a team better than Chicago, should he get traded to a team like Boston, I guess Taves would be a safe bet to make. Now, the question then arises as to what exactly the Bruins would give up in a Jonathan Taves trade. It's going to have to be pretty big, right? I mean, he's not too big because he might be considered a rental after all. He's only got 1 year left. The Bruins have their first round picks in 2023 and 2024. They've got their second in 2022, and they've got 3 thirds in 2022, 2023, and 2024. The team in the West Coast really got for about a few months worth of these, right? The Philadelphia Flyers actually added onto that trade when they sent him over to the Panthers, but in return they got themselves a few picks as well as Owen Tippett. If you could assume that Jonathan Taves goes for around the same, maybe spare the extra stuff that Giroux got traded with, you're probably looking at maybe a first round pick from the Bruins, maybe a second thrown in there as well, and getting another prospect. The problem is their prospect core isn't really the best, aside from Fabian themselves. This team just hasn't had the best luck when it comes to drafting guys, in my opinion. Sure, you have John Beecher in the system, and you have some other guys there too, but there's a reason why Boston has been ranked towards the bottom when it comes to overall prospect pools the past few years. But Fabian Lucelle is a good enough name that I could honestly see him maybe being considered, especially if Chicago is looking for more of those versatile, speedy, and hard-working forwards. But either way, feel free to comment on your thoughts about this idea over here, brought up by Jeff Merrick and the Jeff Merrick Show. Jonathan Taves to the Boston Bruins. Do you see this happening? Do you like this idea? Would you, could you, or should you even think about it if you are either Chicago or Boston? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below if you enjoyed this particular Charles sign on. And bye. Okay. For Calgary, news for them, Sean Monahan on LTIR will not be returning as the years over. He's having hip surgery, so it's not the same as getting having problems with previously. And so that's all the players getting hip surgery, especially for Monahan, who was already having a down year in level before. Hip surgery is not going to improve that likelihood. So hopefully he heals up nice quickly, and over this year, we'll see whether or not that is a member of the penalty plan. I would think that he probably get moved this offseason, and that's that would be the worst, but I would think that's not happening. The only thing is Dave Davis is called up front in that today. So, the Johnson Queen, again, having Long coming out here, I don't think that's that unexpected. Just the way things are going forward here is word of nagging injuries. So, one question on the last night's game between Arizona and Anaheim, and I didn't hear it during the broadcast, but Tyson Nance does really get fired up watching these games. So he basically takes the
Jason, did you notice it's going to be a quiet sale? 2 quiet sales. One is Diane, one is my parents.
Interesting stats put out by the NHL today that if both Calgary and Edmonton were to make the playoffs in this season, and there's a good chance they both make it, that is the least time in 35 years that they do. So for me, hoping to see a battle of Alberta at some point in time soon, this is probably the reason why we don't see the battle of Alberta, because they don't both make the playoffs. They have to both make the playoffs in Alberta. So I don't know that we see it this year, but it's possible that the second round is now as the first round. If the Oilers say fight the games and we're able to knock them off, and we get back with Alberta in round two, I would be quite happy with that. So your people are having a day right now on not getting any spoilers on that, so if you haven't watched or you're waiting for the later. They're having a day. Cameron became the seventh goal used by the Devils with the Adams record, and again, in the career era, 10 uses one. Well, once a month, the right looks back like this, and other than that, basically you're paying somebody to sit there and wear a ball cap and look
the arena and not have to worry about going in. But those days are gone. Jersey Devils with their 7th American Anthem, and of course with the 11th being played for by Andrew, which means somebody comes to do a career video. And it's still very different to play for. And he's playing well. Again, I'm not spoiling anything, but he's playing well. The other thing that I noticed, and I'm happy to start seeing this, is the line of Sheriff, Hughes, and Mercer is starting to get a lot of attention from media. And I think fans and other teams are finding out these guys are pretty good. Sheriff I've talked about for a couple of years now. Hughes, I mentioned last year he was in the Bucks, and Mercer is a really solid way forward. And I think both of them play decent at both NBA. And honestly, this is a line with a lot of potential, and it doesn't have any potential. But I think it's still your drop in the comment section below always regarding any of these things, including the idea of, whether or not there's the code and if you.
Think of your laundry as your credit card balance. If you experience an unexpected loss of income, debt can start piling up. With a simple click, you can enroll in RBC Balance Protector and keep your credit card balance neatly sorted.
In every direction, this is piercing blue water. You're filming and you're getting the shot of your life. Really well done.
Welcome back. Alright, so we are going to talk about investment trophies today. Because we're about a month out from the end of the season, and yeah, I'm wearing Rangers because it's busy, there's the work. But I want to talk about other goaltenders in the league, because we can talk about goaltenders today on the getting as much attention. I also want to throw an honorable mention to the start of this video too, for David Robb, who in Florida is having very good numbers for even the advanced stats on moneyfront.com. So go to moneyfront.com. That's where I'm going to start saying goaltenders and all the things. But for Robb's December, it's been very good. Underlying excellent. And so while there's the injuries and whatnot, and I think for Florida scores so much goals, over what is it? Robb's bad. Because his goals against average, that's a little higher than you want. His saves are a little lower than you want. But the number of really high quality balls is pretty darn good. So he doesn't end up being number one in consensus, but I want to think about it.
Good.
I'd also say quickly the next one is Canadian mostly this year, and while there's a lot of talk about how good Danko is, and also Danko that is still learning, right? He's still young, he's still learning, and so there are a little bit of Alabama had a pretty good season overall, but I wouldn't talk about that. We'll talk about it. We'll start with the American at the top. 936 the record for wins doesn't matter. And then the overall. So if a goaltender plays, two goaltenders play 65 games, and the overall stats is the same. The one goalie wins 20 games, the other wins 35. I think that says the guy who won 20 is not as good as you. That's the guy who wins 35. It doesn't mean the word goaltender. And it is an argument that I think is doing something like this when I was talking about it. So, one thing that's considered is that Georgiev stays competitive and which speaks to Georgiev having a rough year. It also speaks to the fact that the Rangers give up a lot of opportunities 5-on-5, and he certainly covers up for a lot of that, right? You look at goal saves above the expected, it's 32.4. He's number one in the NHL in that number. Goal saves above first 60, 47 seconds. So that means that in any given game, you only equally save one above the second, which is ridiculous. You only go even close to the spread there. Wins above replacement. So this is, you put an average goaltender in instead of Shesterkin. 5.4 is the number for Shesterkin. So again, he's in that category. And then I went back to over to the NHL app and looking at games started where you had to take percentage above 900, 79.1%. And again, it's worse than everybody else on this list. So, yeah, whatever metric you want to use, worse than their 50,000. Minutes played, 2,534 minutes, 28 seconds. Now, the reason that I point that out is there are other goaltenders who work less.
doing a good job of getting the most out of the American team, and I think they're also doing it for the whole time. So they're getting playing a bit more than probably would under other coaches, but clearly it looks like the land is making sure that they're getting playoff time, and that goaltenders, we've talked about this previously, goaltenders play a ton of minutes during the regular season, and highlights in the playoffs. Today is the 70-game goaltender going on in the playoffs. Seemingly over, I've seen charts and graphs and all this stuff about goaltenders who play 60 or 65 games during the regular season on the real healthy. And so we'll see whether or not they're going to be rested and the Falcons once they get to the first round, second round, and beyond. Andre Vasilevsky gets put next on the list, even though the overall numbers would not have Vasilevsky there. I know people get voted. Every time I watch the Tampa game, what do I hear from announcers, not Tampa announcers, but the other announcers? Andre Vasilevsky is the best goaltender in the world. I'm not going to argue with him. He's not having the best goaltender, but is he still the best goaltender in the world? Probably, yeah. Now his 919 save percentage is barely above Elliott. He's got a 915. Now Elliott doesn't play very well, which allows Tampa to rest Vasilevsky again. His record 34-14 and 4, he'll get most of the games and yes, also the fact that he's one of the best in the world more, I think, helps him get into the attention. His goal saving above expected 25-29, per 60 minutes is 24-96. So on this board here, below himself, below Anderson, and below Jerry. So he's still 4th out of the 10 that I have on the board. But you can see that like Vasilevsky was having a good year from the Sheridan Smart. It is the best year for them. So I think it's probably at the top 3 of all the year. I don't think it's good. If wins one replacement, 4.32, that puts them third on the board. So again, probably the finalist for the award. I don't think this team with 900 plus base percentage, 71.2 is